Hello, Potato, and welcome to Weekend Magic for March the 25th, 2023. So this week saw the release of part 2 of the Disney 100 Decades collection, which was a general mishmash. I think it was called Snow White and More, something like that. And it was a general mishmash. We had a band leader, Mickey, Silly Symphony's backpack, we had Snow White ears, we had Clarabelle cow and horse collar pins. We had no toy at all. There was a Clarabelle and Horace Magic Band pre-order, and the Three Little Pigs Silly Symphony's plush. Just a general mishmash of things from like the Silly Symphony's 1930s era after last month's solid slate of Steamboat Willie. And if you watched last week's video, you may remember that I mentioned that I hoped they would get the items here as fast this time as they did in the February collection, which was to say I ordered it on Monday and it arrived on like Thursday night. And here we are Saturday morning and it is not here. So it didn't happen again. That was a fluke, or maybe because I ordered more, they sent it faster, I don't know. But yeah, we did not get it in like 3 days this time. It's actually due to arrive sometime this afternoon or tonight. So it'll be next week's video if it arrives in that time frame. And I have a theory now. I've come to a theory about what the Disney Decades thing is and why it didn't start till February, and why this month in particular was such a mishmash, and why there was no toy. And the reason is that this was never meant to be a continuity collection. This is all stuff they were just going to make and release under the Disney 100 banner, and they realized they could do it as a continuity collection. But that's why, we'll look more at it next week, but that's why like the pins don't look like each other. The only thing that makes the plush match up is they've put them in like a similar bag. The backpacks are different styles. And again, for the 30s, there's no toy at all. And you may be wondering, well, what makes you think that? And even if you're not wondering that, I'm gonna tell you anyways. And the thing that makes you think that is the ears. So, and I didn't notice it last month until I went back and looked at it, because at least as of a couple days ago, all of the February stuff was still available. But I noticed that, you know, normally on these collections, like Mickey Mouse Main Attraction, Minnie Mouse Main Attraction, on the ears, there's a logo for the collection stitched on one of the ears. And that's not the way it is on the ears this time. There's like a little placard or a little tag stitched onto the headband, like attached to the headband, like a separate piece that they maybe decided later on to add to make it look more like a continuity collection. And I think that's why I think there was no collection planned for this year. They just took a bunch of things they were already going to release and are grouping them together to be collections. Now, do you think I'm onto something there? Let me know in the comments below, but we'll probably talk about it a little bit more next week when we actually look at the bits of the 1930s collection that we purchased. But today, in the absence of the Decades collection, we're gonna go back to look at something else. And you may have some idea, at least in the realms of what that is, by the fact that Alice is hovering here in front of us. Yes, that would be the Alice figure we looked at last week, I think. I think it was last week. Yeah, in fact, I'm pretty sure it was last week. Time blurs when you get to my age, just so you know. But last week, yeah, we looked at the Super 7 Disney Ultimates Alice from Alice in Wonderland, part of the second series of Disney Ultimates. And I still quite like her. I mean, there were some issues with her that I didn't run into in the first series. We have some color bleed, some blue splotch there on her arm. There's actually another blue splotch on this arm. And when we actually were looking at it in the video, her left leg just kind of dropped off. And it's done that a few more times since then, including when I was putting it on this stand. So I decided that, you know, since she has that wire reinforced dress that you can poof out like this, I would get one of those action stands and position her like when she's coming down the rabbit hole with her dress all poofed out. And I feel now like I maybe need to change the head to a different one, because looking at pictures of that scene, she doesn't look particularly shocked as she's going down the rabbit hole, which is a little odd. You'd think she would feel a little weird about floating down a hole, but she seems actually in the pictures quite okay with it. So I need to swap the head out. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how she turned out, except for the fact that, again, putting her on this leg dropped off a couple more times. It pops back on easily enough. It actually goes on and off easier than the head. Going on easier is great. Falling off easier, not so much. But again, like it says on the box, this is not a toy, it's an adult collectible. So you may be wondering, why is Alice back? Why am I just talking about her again? No. See, Alice wasn't the only Alice in Wonderland figure released as part of Series 2 of Disney Ultimates from Super 7. They also released the Mad Hatter. Now, how could I overlook, could I pass up, could I not get the Mad Hatter? But again, may contain small parts, adult collectible, not a toy. And that is why I think it's arguably okay that her leg keeps falling off, because you're not really meant to play with her anyways. You're meant to pose and leave her the heck alone. And ultimately, that's what I'm going to do now that I've got her on her stand, at least until I have reason to bring her back before the camera again. Which may well happen towards the end of the year, or may get delayed off into next year, much like these that arrived last year did to this year. Because yes, these did arrive around Christmas time. I had too much going on, didn't cover them then. They've been sitting there waiting for me to pop them out of their boxes and look at them ever since. And here we are in March, and we're just now finally getting to it. So let's get the Mad Hatter out of his box. As I recall, last week I had trouble with this as well. But this week I'm going to go to, there we go, try to pop it open before I rip the box. And let's see, I'm guessing another shiny green box. Looks like a shiny green box. And of course, again, I think most people aren't taking these even out of the brown boxes. I think it's why the brown boxes say on them what they say. Because, yeah, I mean, I've already lessened the value of this just by taking it out of that outer packaging. You know, I thought I had opened and looked at some of these, like briefly when they came in, just to make sure they're okay, but the fact they're still sealed tells me that I must not have. Or maybe I looked at the third one, the one that we'll look at probably in a couple weeks. Whenever I have a week that I don't have anything else to look at, that's when we'll look at the third one. So Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter. Again, let's see if we can slide out and see what he looks like. And there we go. And honestly, this one was a more obvious grab to me than even Alice was, because the Mad Hatter is just a cool character. The words on the back, there's words on the back. I thought there'd be words on the back because there was words on the back last time. Justly named for his considerable top hat and his loud and kooky personality, he, along with his two equally eccentric friends, are in the middle of yet another celebratory unbirthday tea party when their cheerful singing is interrupted by the helpless Alice trying to find her way home. Yeah, Mad Hatter's awesome. Love the voice. So, I noticed last time that the lid looked like the Cheshire Cat's grin. Not so much this time, so I think that was actually the intent of the box last time. And, yeah, no Cheshire Cheshire Cat. Maybe they'll do a future one, because also, no March Hare. We do have the mouse, the dormouse, they're in the teapot, but no March Hare. Whoop. So I guess let's slide him, get you a good look at him there, in the pack. Or not, or drop him on his face and probably destroy him. There we go. So that's what it looks like in his plastic. Now, let's jump ahead and take him out of his plastic. All right, so there are most of his bits out of the box. I did leave 3 of the hands in there, just because, I mean, they're small and there's not much to look at on them anyways. So he is, of course, considerably smaller than Alice, but I feel like this got a lot more goodies here. We do delve into the fragile and easily lost bits, which is another reason I didn't take all the hands out. But he's comes with a lot of nice little bits here. We have, unfortunately, it doesn't stand up on its own. So I recall in the movie, there's a bit where he's pouring the tea like this, and he lets it go and it stands up on its own, which it looks like this is supposed to do, but it's a little front heavy. You'd have to balance it against something, maybe the cake. Will that work? Nope, it just knocks the cake over. So one thing I just want to say real quick here. This is probably the hardest to get out of the package action figure I have ever opened. He really, they do not expect you to open these up like I'm doing. His hair just did not want to come out of its little prison there. I am really surprised I didn't break anything, because it was really difficult to get that out of there. So what do we get here for our, I think it was $55. I think the first series is $45 and series 2 and 3 are $55 each. We have the Mad Hatter. We have an extra, like a really like kind of angry looking head for him, as opposed to the more friendly looking head that he comes already with. We have the triple pour teapot. We have an unbirthday cake. We have the dormouse, which is, I think, nicely done. I think the eyes get lost, but I feel like that's actually pretty faithful to the source material. We have a teacup, and there's like a little hole in the teacup, and I think that's because you're meant to be able to do this. One of his hands comes with the half-eaten plate, and I think the idea is that you can dip the half-eaten plate into the tea like so, which is actually very tempting. I might actually do that way, because some of his hands do come in very small little poses that are probably meant to hold some of these things. Also in the instantly going to be lost department, we do have his watch, which is nicely detailed. Appears to be smeared with jam. And then this one's kind of a puzzler. I thought, when I saw this, that his head would pop off like the top of this one, but I realize now that this is itself a head. Let's see if I'm right, because I do believe that's his chin there, sticking out. His head comes off a lot easier than Alice's did. That's nice. And there we go. So now his head's all pushed down into his hat. That's cute. I mean, that's obviously a very particular bit you're doing with him. I don't know which head I like better, though. Do I like the cross-eyed head or the quote-unquote normal head? Because I kind of like the mouth on the normal head better, but I kind of like the cross eyes. As you may be able to tell from the sound it makes when I drop it, the hats are actually very solid, but the hair is a little rubbery. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's some springiness. The hair is not sharp plastic. It's a springy, more rubbery material. We'll put this one back on for now. I think I probably will stay with this one. Unlike Alice, he does not come with the little holes in his feet, so I guess it's a good thing that he stands up pretty well. Alice did not stand up well at all. Alice is more of a balance. He actually does sort of stand. And as with all of the Disney Ultimates we've looked at so far on this channel, he does come with some cloth elements in the form of his coat, which, no particular details underneath the coat. Nicely painted. The coat does cover, you can see his white sleeves there, sticking out from his vest. He's got his bow tie. You can actually see, nice little deal, you can see his socks just a little bit, just peeking out between his pants and his shoes there. That's a nice detail, because I think a lot of manufacturers wouldn't have bothered. They just would have had his pant leg run right into the top of his shoe. But Super 7 has actually sculpted in his socks. Now, his arms don't seem to go down as much as I maybe would like flush with his body. To be fair, Alice's don't either. She's not quite in the arm pose that I wanted her in. But they do look good. I don't see any paint issues on him, which is nice. To be fair, if they're on the arms again, they're covered up by the sleeves, which is fine. But like around the socks is an area I would expect to see some paint bleed, just because you have just that tiny little area there, and they've done a good job of it. And none of the other heads seem to have an issue either. Another spot where you easily could have had some paint bleed is the jam on the watch, and again, looks fine. It has a little actual metal chain, which, yeah, this is definitely going back in the box. I will lose this. I might keep this out and pose him like this, but I'm definitely putting that watch away. The teapot, I do like the semi-transparent tea they've used there. You can see the light shines through it a bit. So they've made a nice little cup of tea. Now I think, can he even use this? I feel like he's too short. Now in the movie, I think in the movie he was standing on something. But yeah, that's you would definitely have to have him stand on something to be pouring the tea, which then begs the question of why the tea doesn't stand up, and I think the answer to that probably is because you weren't supposed to take it out of the box, dummy. I do like the doormat. I guess I really liked Sir Hiss on the Prince John figure, because he was small but still really detailed. And I feel the same way with the Dormouse here. He's another character that you easily could have screwed up the paint on him, but it looks pretty clean. The pink of his snout, the like almost more of a like burgundy of the nose. There are little sleepy black slits on his eyes. I don't think you can see that on the camera. If I get too close, it just gets blurry and you can't see anything at all. I like the design on the pot. I like the pot does actually stand up, unlike the big triple pot. And looking at our cake, again, I don't see any paint bleed. I don't see any issues here at all. Nicely detailed. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I can't say if it's necessarily screen accurate, but it looks really nice. I'm quite happy with him. The detail of the teacup there. You can even see a little splash in the tea where the plate is being dunked into it. And of course, pinky's out, because that means you're fancy. Oops, just dropped it. So I'd say overall, I think I do like him better than Alice. I mean, I like the Mad Hatter just in general. I've always been impressed by him as a character. I love the voice in him. The Unbirthday song is a great bit in Alice in Wonderland. But it did feel like, if I was going to get him, I had to get Alice, which is why I got Alice. Because also, I mean, Alice in Wonderland is just a nice story. Even the non-Disney versions, a nice story. And I feel like if I'm going to get the Mad Hatter, I have to get Alice, which is part of why I didn't get the alligator from Fantasia, because I didn't get the hippo from Fantasia, because I'm not buying like everything Fantasia. I bought Sorcerer Mickey because it's Sorcerer Mickey. If they made a Chernabog, I'd probably get a Chernabog, but thus far through Series 3, there's not a Chernabog planned that I'm aware of. But yeah, he's very nice. I do think I like him better than Alice. He's definitely up there with Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey, if not better than, because they both came with really nice accessories that were really fitting. I do like this. I feel like something needs to poke out of this, but I can't think of anything that came with it that's going to fit in there. So I can't do that. At first I thought this was meant to like replace his head and go on top of it, but no. Then I realized that is actually his chin sticking out, and that his head's pushed out. I haven't seen the movie in a long time. I think I've mentioned that a few times now. Yep, he's very nice. Again, not a play with toy. He's definitely a shelf display. I'm gonna have to actually, the shelf that they're on is gonna have to be rearranged a little bit, just because it's sharing the shelf with my Indiana Jones prop replica items, and there's other things on there too, and some of those other things are gonna need to move to make room for the Mad Hatter. I got Alice in there, but the Hatter's gonna need some space of his own. I think I am probably gonna put away most of the props. I think I'm going to do him with the dipping the teacup, but everything else, including our precious little Dormouse here, is probably going to go back into the box, especially since that doesn't stand up on its own. But it's another winner from Super 7. Again, unlike Alice, we have no paint blemishes on him, which is better. he stands up, which is nice. I mean, I actually think I would have preferred that he had the stand hole in his feet, just so I could make sure he stands up like properly. I did have issues with Sorcerer Mickey. I originally like stood him on top of the spell book, like he's writing it in the movie, and he would fall off forward. So now he stands behind the book. That way, if he falls forward, he's just kind of leaning against it. But I'm hoping with his big feet, that's not going to be a problem. The only real problem is deciding which head I want to use. But that's all we have this week. Just a lovely little Disney action figure. So I hope you found this at all interesting or entertaining. If you did, go ahead, give it a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.